Pilgrims All, in search for joy. This presentation is told like a story with the ideas from several authors that I trust, each of whom will be credited on screen during the readings and with full details at the end. It is a selection of ideas that support me in looking for and understanding a path towards higher joy. The presentation is intended as an easy contemplation on the nature of life, spirit, and beyond. From joy we have come. In joy we live and have our being, and in that sacred joy we will one day melt again. Man is a pilgrim of eternity. He came out of the womb of cosmic being as an unself-conscious God spark, and after wandering eon after eon through all the various inner worlds, he finally became man, the self-conscious entity. And here we are. In naturalness. So where might we find this joy? All through Celtic poetry, you find the colour, power, and intensity of nature. How beautifully it recognises the wind, the flowers, the breaking of the waves on the land. Celtic spirituality hallows the moon and adores the life force of the sun. Since the Celts were a nature people, the world of nature was both a presence and a companion. Nature nourished them. It was here that they felt the deepest belonging and affinity. The Celtic mind was not burdened by dualism. It did not separate what belongs together. The Celtic imagination articulates the inner friendship that embraces nature, divinity, underworld, and human world as one. To be holy is to be natural, to befriend the worlds that come to balance in you. The journey. I see a great mountain standing in space, with a road that winds round the mountain, round and round, until the summit is reached. As we trace the road upwards along this spiral track, we see how it ends at the summit of the mountain, that it leads to a mighty temple, a temple as of white marble, radiant, which stands there shining out against the ethereal blue. That temple is the goal of the pilgrimage, and they who are in it have finished their course, finished it so far as that mountain is concerned, and remain there only for the helping of those still climbing. One wonders how the pilgrims have the heart to climb so long. Tracing it round and round the mountain, millions of years pass. It seems that they travel slowly because they see not their goal, and understand not the direction in which they are travelling, like children running after a blossom here, chasing a butterfly there. When some soul recognises for the first time a purpose in the journey and catches for a moment a gleam from this temple on the summit, after that first momentary glimpse is never again quite as he was before. For though but for a moment he has recognised a goal and an ending, he understands for that moment that the pathway has a name: service. The soul understands that before it can reach even the outer court of the temple, it must pass through that service of man gateway and realise that life is meant for service and not for self-seeking. That the only way to climb upwards more swiftly is to climb for the sake of those who are lagging. As man becomes himself, that is, as he becomes divine in his own self-consciousness, he will become more and more joyful, more and more joy-giving to others. Bliss must increase as the highest nature develops. Where we get lost. Unfounded beliefs. In making this search, it would indeed be well if out of the heart every one of you could drop that ancient superstition which causes so much unhappiness, that there is something more or less wrong in being happy, that there is something more or less to be ashamed of in finding and enjoying happiness, that the divine being is pleased with sadness rather than with joy, and whose innermost being is bliss, can in any sense grudge the enjoyment of happiness by his children. Illusory mind. Two boys went on a pilgrimage, and after some days news came back that one of them was dead. However, the wrong one was reported dead, and the result was that the mother who had lost her son went about as cheerful as ever, while the one who had still got her son was weeping and lamenting. So it is not any object or condition that causes grief, but only our thought about it. Craving. Why strive hard to have something you will lose just as you cross the portals of the grave? Pseudo-pleasures offered in place of the real joy of divine communion. You do not want a transitory joy that leaves sorrow in its trail when it vanishes. Look for joy that will shine forever steadily, like the ever-luminous radium. How quickly we weary of earthly pleasures. Desire for material things is endless. Man is never satisfied completely, and pursues one goal after another. The something else he seeks is the Lord, who alone can grant lasting joy. Outward longings drive us from the Eden within. They offer false pleasures that only impersonate soul happiness. Ignorance. Not until it turns into gold does copper realise what it had been before. Not until the king finds his heart does he realise how destitute he had been until that moment. Raise your consciousness. Suffering is necessary until you realise it is unnecessary. So the thing is this, there is no perfection in this world. Why seek it here? You may find a little short-lived pleasure, but mostly you'll find suffering and injustice. Let joy raise your consciousness past all suffering. Let the Risen One raise your cross to his infinite joy. Forget yourself, but never him. Transition. Beyond what we wish and what we fear might happen, we have another life, as clear and free as a mountain stream. Sacrifice. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. This soul will train itself to feel that the joy of possession lies really in the act of giving, not in the act of gaining. Thus the pleasure-seeking instinct may be transmuted into the joy-giving power. And that which once sought pleasure in isolation shall realise that joy is only found in sharing, and that nothing is worth having save that which is possessed in giving. Surrender. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has travelled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages, and in front of her she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know. It's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. Direct experience. God, who is love, is also joy. God being love is also happiness, and it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. God says, I talk to everyone, all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you're feeling about it. Feelings are sometimes difficult to discover, and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. When the Spirit is known, and when we know ourselves as Spirit, there is no land or sea, no earth or sky. All is He. The melting of everything in Spirit is a state no one can describe. A great bliss is felt, eternal fullness of joy and knowledge and love. God awareness begins in humbleness, love, and meditative bliss. Liberation. To know the truth, you need not undergo all this torture of learning. Be quiet. That is truth. Be still. That is God. Liberation means that you are tied to nothing external. Only the will of God is your directing force. Thus it is that when the lights come, liberty comes with it, and the joy and the laughter of the man becomes divine, for the divine light has flowed in upon his soul. There is liberty, and the message of liberty is that the cause of sorrow lies in ourselves and not in the universe. It lies in our ignorance and not in the nature of things. It lies in our blindness and not in the life. Men suffer from themselves. They are not bound. With the ceasing of ignorance shall come the end of pain. This place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. Into the temple. In crossing into the temple, he has come within sight of the great teachers, the masters, and in the possibility of the touch of such lofty companionship, all life forevermore is changed. He will have touched the permanent, and the transitory cannot again shake him, as in the days when he knew not the eternal. His feet are forevermore upon the rock, and the waves will not be able to wash him away from it. Night and day I am in a state of joy. That joy is God. To know him is to perform the funeral rites for all your sorrows. The more peaceful you are, the more you will be able to feel his presence. The happier you are, the greater will be your attunement with him. Those who know him are always happy, because God is joy itself. To know God is the only worthwhile ambition to have, because he is happiness everlasting. Strive to feel the peace of his presence. Bathe your mind and body in that peace. Through the portals of silence, the healing sun of wisdom and peace will shine upon you.